It is Monday, August 28th, 2023. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Hope everybody had an amazing sports, baseball-filled weekend as all the kiddies start to go back to school and everything, and we return to our regularly scheduled programming life. Your kids went to school, right?
Yes, thank goodness. They had 2 weeks with no camps during the last summer, during summer break. They need to be in school.
Yeah.
And not only are they in school, but fall ball starting up. So I was sitting at the yard all weekend grading these kids on their tryouts. I'm a harsh grader too, man. I gotta be honest with you.
Well, okay.
That's what I spent my weekend doing. That and what we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah, before we talk about the big leaguers, a little tip of the cap to those bunch of 12-year-olds from El Segundo, California.
Challenged him, and this game is over. Louis Lappy does it again. California, your Little League World Series champs on a walk-off home run.
Good for Louis Lappy and the kids from El Segundo, California. Awesome. So fun.
It is. That dude's 6'1".
I know.
A 6'1", 12-year-old. We actually, I got an alert on my phone that, because I haven't really been watching it, to be honest. I had a busy weekend, and I got an alert on my phone that Curacao had tied it up with the grand slam. So I was like, Teddy, we had just gotten home. I said, Teddy, get the TV on, Little League World Series. And he's like, oh, what is this? What is this? And as soon as that kid came up, it was game over. He already had like 4 homers in the tournament. He threw him like a slider outside first pitch. He took it, and then next pitch. I mean, that's crazy. 6'1" at 12.
Well, we had one of those. We did on our team. We had a kid named Jacob Rosenfeld. He actually, when you go up to Cooperstown, one of the things they do before the tournament starts is they have a home run derby.
Yeah.
And every team gets represented. And he won the home run derby for the week we were there. And he's walking around with this enormous trophy. And everybody's like, so it was good and bad news. It was great for Jacob. He won it. The bad news was nobody pitched to him the entire tournament.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So great for them. I love that tournament. There's so many amazing sights and sounds. And ESPN does a really, really good job of bringing it to you. So tip of the cap to them as well. All right, let's get it going with the big league kids. Brewers start a 3-game set at Wrigley Field tonight, and that joint is going to be jumping. Milwaukee has a 4-game lead. They are bringing in an 8-game winning streak. Do you think the NL Central will be more or less interesting at the conclusion of this series?
Now, I guess what you're asking me is, do I think that the Cubs are going to win the series? That's the question.
That's basically it's a flowery way of saying, yeah, who's taking 2 or 3 at least.
It really is tough to say because both these teams are firing right now.
So say it.
Yeah, I think the Cubs will win 2 out of 3. The only reason I'm saying that though, Chris, is because they're playing at home.
Okay,
that's the only reason I'm saying that. But Milwaukee, their offense is clicking right now. Adames is going off. Tellez is going off. We know what they can do defensively, pitching the ball. I mean, you're throwing Miley, Burns, and Woodruff at this lineup for the Cubs. So it's really hard to pick against the Brew Crew. But the Cubs on their own right have been doing the exact same thing. I mean, and we're not going to get Assad or Wicks in this series, but they've stepped into roles and done well. I mean, Wicks is 1 start, but Assad's been more than that. But their offense has been going too. Say Suzuki's been hitting the ball really well. Bellinger's continued his pace. Like it's a very tough call because they're also sending Tyone, Steele, and Hendricks out there. So it's just going to be a great matchup in Chicago this weekend. But I'll give it to the Cubs just because they're at home. But I have no real good reason other than that to give it to them. It's like I almost don't want to predict this series. I just want to watch it. It's going to be really good, and it does mean a lot for the division, dude. I know that if whoever wins this division is still going to have to play in a wild card matchup, but you still want to win the division. So this means something to both teams.
Okay, so I think I'm rooting for it to be more interesting because I did a little peeking on the schedule. Last 3 games of the year, Cubs, Brewers, and I want it to come down to that. So I don't want Milwaukee to jump out to a 5 or 6 game lead. I like them. I really like what they've done lately. They had a series against the Dodgers, where the Dodgers just shut them down. Brewers barely scored the entire series. They had a quick little team meeting. Since then, they've ripped off 8 in a row, and they're averaging more than 7 runs per game. This is for an offense that hasn't been very good over the last several years. So for them to be able to score 7 runs, and they've always seemingly had an explosive inning that has kind of set the tone. So I think if the Cubs can keep the Brewers from scoring 3 or 4 runs in a single inning, I think they'll be okay. And I think they can take 2 out of 3. And I'm still amazed. For me, this is almost like turn back the clock week, because you've got Cody Bellinger playing at an MVP-ish level. He's not going to win the MVP, but he's playing at that sort of level. And Christian Yelich is back. So it's kind of like the old Yelly Belly commercial, which is great.
I like that. Yeah. Milwaukee 4 games up right now. Chicago's offense. Jake brought this up, just brought it up on Talking Baseball. Do you know where they ranked in runs scored overall?
Who did you say? The Cubs?
Yeah, the Cubs.
Where they rank like 1 through 30 in terms of runs scored this year. I'm going to say, because he asked, probably 8th. 5.
Yeah. They've been putting a beating on the baseball a little bit.
Yeah. I know they did.
It's going to be a good series. I'm
I
going to say 2 or 3 for the Cubs, but I really don't have a good reason other than they're at home.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see the atmosphere. It's good. When that place is always rocking, right? They could play 500 ball. They could be 10 games under 500. It's still a fun place to watch. When the Cubs are good, it's special. It's special. All right. What a weekend, speaking of special, for one Mookie Betts, who returned to Fenway Park for the first time as a player since 2019. The tip of the cap on Friday night was phenomenal. That place was unreal. On Apple TV with the special camera that they used, seemed like a movie scene. You had Rafael Devers clapping for his former teammate, Alex Cora giving him yeah. And then, of course, they couldn't wait to boot him out of town, because what a series dude had.
Betts launched to left. Mookie is a monster to the top of the monster.
It was super, super special.
Oh, my God.
Thanks to all the fans for the ovation, all the people that made Boston special. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then the fans, they were, first of all, great job by the fans. Standing ovations all weekend long until he started smacking the ball around the yard, which he continued to do. Big question here. Has he jumped over Ronald Acuna for the NL MVP?
I believe so. And there's a bunch of numbers I think that support it. Number one, I know you don't like when I do this, but Vegas now has Mookie listed over Acuna, and it's the first time that's happened all year. In early August, Acuna was minus 1,000 to win the award. Now he's getting plus money on this side, and it's Mookie that's minus. And, you know, I think that as good as Acuna's been, he's going to hit 30 homers and steal 70 something bags or whatever the heck it is. That's incredible, but
which has never been done.
Never been done. Yeah, he's got 28 homers and 59 steals. Those numbers might not be up to date. I'm looking at this article right here. But Mookie has more homers, more RBI, probably plays a better defense. He's been moving from outfield to second base to shortstop, doing all those things. It's close, and it's like not Mookie hasn't stolen the award from Acuna yet. If Acuna goes and has a great September, 100% he could still get back and still win the award. But I think as of right now, Mookie's jumped him. He's been playing that well as of late, and they're both 5-tool, almost perfect baseball players. But I think Mookie's just got it a little bit right now.
Is it the positional versatility, because he has played 44 games at second, 14 at short, and 83 in right field? Is that the differentiation for you, that he is so consistent offensively, but then he can play 3 different positions at a high level?
Yeah, and I don't have the metrics in front of me, but Acuna never really grades out well defensively for some reason, although he, like, if you watch him play, he's really good. I think the routes aren't great and the jumps aren't great, but that's attributed to Mookie having almost a full extra WAR on him. 7.4 B WAR up against Acuna 6.3. So that's definitely what it is.
Okay, what about the stolen base differentiation, right? I mean, Acuna's got almost 60. Betts has barely got double digits. And let's remember, the Braves lead the world in first inning runs. I did a little digging on, and this is going to get a little mathy for everybody, but I want you to hang tight on me. Okay, the Braves almost average a run per game in the first inning. Acuna has accounted for 30% of those runs. The Dodgers are second in the league. They score a run in the first inning about 75% of the time, and Betts actually accounts for 33% of those first inning runs. So it's kind of interesting. They go about it two different ways, but man, they both touch the dish an awful lot, and they both set the tone at the top of the lineup. As I said, it might be slightly different ways, and that's why I don't think you can just strictly look at the stolen base category and be like, oh, well, it's definitely Acuna. But man, when we're talking about shit that has never been seen in the sport, it's hard to argue against it, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's so close to. I think Acuna has played every single game, hasn't he?
I think he has.
Like, that's got to mean something.
But Betts is right there, too. He doesn't take
Has
days
he?
off.
No, he doesn't take days off, but there's something to playing. If he plays 162, man, and he does, he does that 30 with 75.
Yeah.
That's difficult to take that award from him. And it's not a war-based award, so you could kind of, do with that information what you want. But yeah, I mean, it's not a runaway for Mookie whatsoever.
Not a runaway either direction.
Yeah, I think as of right now, I mean, with Vegas doing that and kind of the series he's had and what he's done as of late, Acuna's been so consistent, though. I feel like hasn't had a bad month.
No, and I think actually that might work against him, right? Because boring sometimes doesn't win the race. And by boring, I mean that he has been uber consistent. Two other things I want to get in on here. Who was the last player to steal 60 bags in a season?
Oh, 60 bags?
Mm-hmm. You played against him for a long time.
I don't know.
Jonathan VR. He did it in 2016. Wow. He hit 19 homers. 19 homers, which isn't bad, but Acuna's going to hit more than 30. Who was the last guy to steal 70 bags in a season?
Rick Anderson.
Come on. It's been Jacoby Ellsbury.
He stole 70 bags?
Yes. How many homers do you think he hit that year in 2009?
13.
8. So what Acuna is doing, both at the dish and on the bases, even Barry Bonds in his best combo year, 1990, when he won the first of his 7 MVPs, 33 homers, 52 steals. Acuna is going to supplant that. Maybe the best, most talented player we've seen, everyday player, and he's going to do better. Just saying. Now,
no, that's crazy.
I think I would vote for Acuna by this much, but I think the writers will vote for Mookie Betts. I think, because remember, these are human beings that do the voting. I think there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's cool to be able to have a guy who's won the MVP in both leagues. Doesn't happen a lot.
I also think it's cool that he's a superstar, established, massive contract, one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's playing middle infield on a whim, Chris. I know he got drafted as that, and
right.
This guy's a outfielder for the most of his professional career, and then he just steps in and can play middle infield for you. That's as impressive as 30 and 75 is. I think that's on par with it, dude. You don't see that.
I know. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. And oh, by the way, Dodgers host the Braves for a 4-game set starting Thursday night. We cannot wait for that. We'll obviously focus on that toward the end of the week. Hey, I was going through my phone the other day, and I was like, holy smokes, I have that like as a subscription? And this and that and the other thing, like it's out of hand. Sometimes you check your credit card bill and you're like, wait a second, I'm getting charged for what? I haven't used that in forever. Well, have a service that can help you with just the touch of a button. So I want to introduce you to Rocket Money. It is a personal finance app, finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills. It's all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want. Just the press of a button. There's no more hold times. You've got to sit around for 57 minutes. You keep looking at that clock. Oh, they haven't gotten back to me. It's just that stupid recording. There's no more annoying emails, dealing with customer service. Rocket Money does all the hard work for you. Rocket Money also lets you monitor all your expenses in one place. This is a big deal. It recommends custom budgets based on your past spending They'll even send you a notification when you've reached your spending limits. Now, they've got more than 3 million users and counting. Rocket Money customers have saved an average of $720 a year. Plouffe, you have a choice. You can have $0 in your hand or $720 in your hand. Which one are you picking?
The $720 mean dollars or
Yes.
bucks?
Yes, $720.
I'd rather have $720.
Thank you. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions. Manage your money the easy way by simply going to rocketmoney.com/today. Once again, that is rocketmoney.com/today. Don't miss it. I'm trying to get you $720, people. Mariners have been so money. Congrats to them, man. They wake up on this Monday, sole possession of first place for the first time all season. We've talked a lot about Seattle recently. We've talked a lot about the defending World Series champ Houston Astros lately. But now the Texas Rangers, tied with Houston for that second wild card spot in the American League. How worried are you that the Texas Rangers are going to slide all the way out and not make the postseason?
I am not worried. I think they are going to make the postseason. I think this is a very, very good team. I think that, they've had a very streaky second half. They've won they've had winning streaks and they've had losing streaks, and it's been kind of up and down like that. And recently they've lost a bunch of games that are like easily they could have won, and that's just part of the baseball season. I think there's been, I'm reading something right here. Like 4 extra inning walk-offs, in the last, or in the second half. Like, those are games that can go either way. I think that this is the product of 162 games, Chris. I think there's going to be times where you just don't play your best ball. I think they're still 500 in August, or over 500 in August, excuse me. I think they're 13-11. So they've been streaky, and we're on now that downward side of streaky. I still think that they're fine. They haven't been able to line up, like, they're hitting with their pitching. If their pitching has been good, their hitting hasn't been there. If their hitting has been good, their pitching hasn't been there. And that's just part of a baseball season. So, they were almost pole to pole in the AL West, but that doesn't happen that often. So I think that we're on a rough patch, but I firmly believe, even with the bullpen issues that we've seen, some of these, late inning losses, I think this team's a playoff team. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
This is only the second day of the season where the Texas Rangers wake up and they don't at least have a share of the division lead. The other day was April 8th. You know who led the division that day? That would be the Angels. A little different these days.
Owie.
I am worried about the Texas Rangers. It's why I'm trying to send you some good juju, some good mojo by wearing your Rangers light blue hat today on the show. You barely mentioned the bullpen. That is the reason I think it's the reason that they're not going to get in, man. They tried to fix it by picking up a couple of pieces. Aroldis Chapman blew another save yesterday. Chris Stratton, huge reason why Minnesota got back into the game, giving up the grand slam to Royce Lewis. Like, guys, let's go. Evan Grant, who covers the Rangers beat for the Dallas Morning News, came out with a staggering statistic. Are you ready for this one? I want you to listen closely. Since save became an official stat in 1969, there have been 13 teams to have at least 20 saves in a season and a save percentage of less than 50%. Not one of those teams won more than 70 games. So that shows you how brutal it could be. That even if your team's accumulating saves, if their save percentage sucks, you're not going anywhere. The Rangers' save percentage this year is 49%. 49%. Now, remember, you can blow multiple save opportunities in a single game. They had 10 walks yesterday. A lot of those because of the bullpen after Jordan Montgomery exited. They have 5 blown saves in their last 6 games alone. That is troubling. When Bruce Bochy looks out there and he says, I don't have guys that can throw strikes, you know as much as anybody, Plouffe, when you have a guy walking in through those bullpen doors and he doesn't know where it's going, you're fucked.
I agree with you. And yes, the bullpen has been a big issue. I mean, they lost on a walk-off walk to my Twins, and Royce Lewis is doing his thing, and Chapman's giving up base hits to Solano to tie the game. I mean, I saw it.
Yep.
I saw the bullpen implode. I think you put up some really compelling numbers there with the blown save percentage. That's a nice argument on your behalf. I think the roster's good enough around that to still make the playoffs, though. And that was the question that you asked me. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? I think they still make the playoffs.
I'm rooting for them. I am, because I think they're a really fun lineup. I hope Eovaldi comes back. I'm worried about him, too. He had a bullpen on Thursday. Supposed to throw another one this week. You know, he's got that bulky elbow. Now his side has been bothering him, apparently. So, like, if they don't get their all-star pitcher back, he hasn't thrown a pitch in the second half. Like, we need that.
I will say this, and people are going to not like that I'm saying this, but when the Braves won the World Series, do you remember what people were talking about? Man, their bullpen sucks. Man, their bullpen. And who was in their bullpen?
Will Smith.
And what did he do during the playoffs?
He didn't give up a run.
Just took his big old nutsack and drug it all over.
Different left-hander.
That was Matzik?
Yeah.
Same thing. They both did the same thing.
Right.
So I'm saying bullpens are always fluid, and they can always change. Like, just like that. You could have a whole season full of crap, and these guys find their rhythm at the right time. Bochy figures out the best way to use them, or whatever it is. They can get hot. Like, if you're a Rangers fan, I know it's frustrating, because it is the most frustrating thing as a fan, is watching your bullpen blow a lead. 100%. So I understand the frustration, but I think they have arms in there that have done it before, and that can do it and get hot at the right time.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of bullpens, best closer in baseball, Felix Bautista, landing on the injured list. He's got something going on with his UCL. They haven't been definitive with it. We're still kind of waiting word on that. Does Baltimore have any shot, though, of making the World Series if their all-star closer is not healthy?
You're asking me a lot of these questions, bro. You know, these ones I don't love to answer. I still, yes, I think they have a shot at making the World Series. And hopefully you've mentioned this to me. There's been many guys that have pitched on a torn UCL. We don't know the severity of the issue. It does seem like he's probably not going to pitch anymore. But you never know. Don't never say never until we get the final word here.
Right.
I think it's going to be more of a struggle, because that's been the formula for Baltimore. I mean, get the ball to Cano and Bautista in the back end, however you can. Now they're one short there. Cano can step into the role, and I think they just brought up Hall for Bautista's spot, and he's like a tall lefty that gets a lot of swings and misses, so maybe he's a part of the equation in the bullpen. In the end, they got to move some things around. I think this team has shown us from the start that they can overcome situations, and like the roster is good enough, and there are enough good players where they can handle somebody underperforming or somebody getting hurt. Like, we've doubted the Orioles. I mean, I have personally almost all season long questioned their rotation. Now we're questioning, can they survive without Bautista? I've questioned, are the bats good enough? What can they do? And they've just answered every single time when something's happened. So yeah, man. Like, this is a special team that knows how to win ball games, and they can do it in a variety of different ways. Does it suck that he might not be there? I mean, he was striking out almost half the guys he faced. It's a big blow. I think 46.4% is the number strikeout rate, which is just incredible. One of the best relievers in the game. All of that. Yeah, it sucks, dude. But to answer your question, yeah, I 100% believe that they can still get to the World Series.
I think they can. In part because I think every contender in the American League has a serious question about itself, right? You can look at the defending World Series champs. Is Fromber and, will Christian get back to what they have been in postseasons past? Like, they're good with Verlander. Now they've got some
Fromber
rotation.
just went no hit through 5 walks, but
I hear you. But overall, the second half has been more miss than hit for him. With Tampa, they ever going to have enough healthy bodies? And then, of course, their best player is probably not going to play for them the rest of the year. With the Twins, it's, can they ever win a freaking playoff game, which hasn't happened in almost 2 decades? With Seattle, it's do they have too much swing and miss, which could rear its ugly head come October. So that every team that thinks it has a path to the Fall Classic has legitimate questions.
Yeah.
Now, this one is really tough to overcome because of the formula they need, in my opinion, in order to make it to the World Series, right? 5 innings out of its starter, figure out who pitches the 6th, go to 7, 8, 9, depending on who's working, Coulomb, Fujinami, Cano, and then turn it over to Bautista, and you slam the door shut with a guy that could, if he needed to, go multiple innings. We saw him do it, I think, last week. But now man, you take that mountain out of the 9th inning, it changes things. I mean, I would take their percentage, in my opinion. I don't know what I would have put their percentage at, but it takes like a double-digit percentage hit, in my opinion.
I mean, there's no doubt. It's a massive blow. I just think that there's still enough where they can figure things out. And like you mentioned, every team has a deficiency.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at the AL right now, Chris, and most complete team might be the Mariners.
Maybe.
And I know, is that recency bias because they're just playing really well right now, but they kind of are.
Well, I do
talk
like
about bullpen, you talk about starting pitching, and you talk about offensive potential and defense they can play. Like,
it can be fun. Be a fun AL playoffs. Fun AL playoffs. Hey, listen, guys, as we get a little bit older, you know what you lose? A little bit of that hair, that palo, that mop on top. Well, here's some good news. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that also promotes healthier hair. There's no drugs. There's no compromise. It's just better hair. In fact, Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. It's clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, visible scalp coverage. Whenever my wife and I are either out or we're watching something on TV or whatever it is, and you see an older guy, the first thing she always says is, good head of hair. So it's an important deal out there. And did you know with Nutrafol, their drug-free patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health? Dude, that's a big deal for us. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting root causes of thinning, such as stress, which we all have plenty of, hormones, which go crazy, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, metabolism, through the whole body health. And it works. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol men's hair growth supplements. That's pretty damn good. I'll take a B anytime. So take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. That's when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code BB today. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men. That is spelled Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code BB today.
I use that shampoo every day.
Oh, nice.
I do. It's great shampoo. And I don't want to lose my hair. I'm being proactive.
Good. Some of us hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
All right. Cool story before we get out of here. I know it's been a rough year for the Yanks, but this is great. Clarke Schmidt, pitcher on their team. His dad worked for Delta Airlines for more than 20 years. He got to fly the Yankee team charter down to Tampa Bay this past weekend. That's awesome. Great picture of Clarke and his dad. Love that. So give me one good father-son moment with your pops in your baseball career.
I've had a lot, and a lot of them stem from my childhood. Like, this dude worked manual labor. You know, he's a pool man, so long days out in the sun doing everything. He would always be ready to play ball when he got home. That was BP. I can't tell you how many times I hit this dude in the shin. I was a good little player, man. And we didn't have a screen, so we just would chuck balls, and I would hit balls right back at him. His shins would get blown up. I remember him always wanting to do that. He coached our teams. The one thing in the big leagues, the fondest memory I have, we were in Colorado, and it was him and his cousin, this guy named Mike. We call him Fat Mike. No, and he's fine with it. But me, him, and Mike, and Olivia was there too. We all got in like those little chariots, and a guy was like had a bike, and we just like pedaled around Denver, and we like got something to eat, and then went somewhere else, and it was just like magical time. He was like away from work, having a good time, and that's happened quite a bit over the years. Coming to see me play. But for some reason in Colorado, we just had a really, really nice time. And I have these like hilarious pictures of them riding in the back. And I'm sure the guy, because he's a big boy too, the guy riding the bike was like, what did I just sign up for? Probably shouldn't have picked these two guys up.
That's awesome. Good. Didn't play in the big leagues, have covered big league baseball for more than 25 years. I called a handful of games for Fox back in probably like 2007, 8, somewhere around there when I was hosting their pregame show. And my mom had died in 2007, so it was just my dad. We went to go visit him in Cleveland with Michelle and the boys. I had a Fox Saturday game in Detroit, White Sox Tigers, and I was going to not only do the pregame show there, but also call the game. And I asked my dad, I said, you want to come up with me and go do it? He's like, hell yeah. So we drove up there 3 hours. I put him in the next booth over. He had the headset on. He listened to the whole broadcast, and you could just see him beaming the entire time, right? Like he knew that this was my childhood dream. And for him to be able to do it, particularly at a real lonely time in his life where he was obviously missing his wife of more than 40 years and his kids who were strewn out all over the country, I thought it was real special. The only problem was we had to share a hotel room, and my dad was a terrible snorer.
My dad is too.
I didn't sleep a wink the night. I didn't sleep at all. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get another room.
That's really funny. Why are all dads snore so much? What's up with that?
I don't know what happens at the end of it. End of the line. Fortunately, I don't snore.
I don't snore either.
So yeah, but you're in your 30s, dude.
That's right.
Difference.
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it, bro.
I hear you. Okay. All right, cool. We are back at it again on Tuesday. We always thank you for joining us live on the AMP app. It's a great way that we can go back and forth and have a discussion with you. So if you have an iPhone, download it. Check out our social media channels because the start time changes each and every day. We'll probably go 11 a.m. Eastern, but check us out on Tuesday. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented man who's still in his 30s, Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday on Baseball Today.